Ford. Here. Essen. Here. Fisher.
Here.
McKenna. Here. Knopfsinger. Here. Butler.
Here.
Armstrong.
Here.
Do we have the student council would like to lead us to the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for taking that. Could you tell us your name, what year you are in school, and a little bit about what student council might be doing?
My name is Maria O'Day and I'm a senior.
I'm Emma Roberts and I'm a sophomore.
Right now, Student Council is planning the holiday assembly, which is going to happen on Friday, and they're going to have the Madrigals perform, the Pantherettes are going to do a routine, they're going to have 2 representatives from each class do a dance, and they're going to have a snowball fight with dodgeballs, and we just began planning our vice versa dance for this year and the St. Jude week to go along with it.
It sounds like you're really busy. Well, thank you for coming tonight. Visitors and correspondence, the cross-country team, and Bert, what can help us with that?
I'd like to thank the board for allowing us to recognize our cross-country teams tonight. Come on in. A couple of things that I'd like to talk about is one, this is the first time in school history that both our boys and girls cross-country team qualified for the state meet at Detwater Park. Okay? And then 2, this is the first time our boys team qualified as a team to run at Detwater Park. So we kind of had two milestones in one day. It was a great year, and I'm going to allow Claire first. She's going to talk a little bit about our cross-country, our girls cross-country team.
Okay, so I'm Claire Myers. I'm a senior, and I've been running cross-country for the past 4 years. And out of my 4 years, we've qualified 3 times for state at Detwater Park. This was an amazing team to run with. We all put in hard work and we were dedicated to the sport, and we were able to have our highest finish in school history this year, which was 5th, so that was a great thing. We placed 2nd in conference, and we had amazing times this year, and it's just a great opportunity, a great way to end my senior year.
And we'll let going down the line, introduce yourself, your name, and year.
I'm Taylor Witter, and I'm a senior.
I'm Jane Jacobs, and I'm a freshman.
I'm Joy English, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Brooke Evans, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Hannah Bennett, and I'm a junior.
Great. And now we're going to let our boys cross-country team talk a little bit.
My name is Alex Mitchell. I'm a senior and I've run for the last 4 years. I'm the only senior on this boys team, so you can expect this team to be making it to state and finishing a lot better in the next couple of years. It was really great running with this team. I've been with them for 3 years, since most of them are juniors except for one of them. And I have high hopes for them next year and wish them luck.
And introduce yourself and year.
I'm Abe Davidson, I'm a junior. I'm Ethan Sabata, and I'm a junior.
Caden Davidson, I'm a sophomore.
I'm Ben Learned, I'm a junior.
I'm Reese Boylan, I'm a junior.
I'm Garrett Roberts, and I'm a junior.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, I know a lot about cross-country since I've been following it lately. My son's in it in the junior high, and a lot of it depends on the weather. How was the weather for your guys' meet for state?
It was a little bit chilly, but it was definitely better than our sectional meet where it's kind of flurry. I think it was right around 50 degrees and cloudy, maybe 45, somewhere like that.
And then you run 3 miles in the high school?
Yes.
Okay. Well, congratulations, and you did really well.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 4.2, girls varsity tennis.
And then we're going to bring in our 2 tennis players. And Coach Crossall, there's so much about these 2 young ladies. I'm just going to let him or Sierra talk about Sierra talk about their career at high school. Sierra, why don't you talk about your career, the both of you at the high school, all 4 years.
I'm Sierra and I'm a junior, and
I'm Erica and I'm a senior.
so we've been partners since my freshman year and her sophomore year. We played #1 varsity doubles freshman year, sophomore year, and my junior year, and hers just elevated, but you know. And then our freshman year, we made it to state as a team, and we only won like one match, lost two. Yep. And then the next year, our sectionals were changed, so we didn't quite make it to state like we wanted to. And so our goal for the next year was to make it back, and that's exactly what we did this year. We made it back to state and improved our record at state to 4-2. And so that put us in the top 16 in doubles, and then we ended up making second team all-state for doubles.
Coach Crossrow, you got something to add?
Oh my gosh, well, yeah.
I know you do. Come on.
Well, I was very fortunate to kind of walk into this team in general. I thought our team in general did very well. I was, of course, you realize I retired, and I was asked to do some long-term subbing in the fall, and then it happened that this position became available, and I said, why not? So, because I had coached the boys for about 26 years or so, and I had done the girls before, for 8 years, but it was back in the 90s, and so I had not had that season for a long time, and I loved the weather. We had beautiful weather the whole season, and it was great. A couple of things that I did want to mention is that these two have, as far as I know, and I've talked to Jim Witt, who also is the patriarch of tennis, who said that as far as he can remember too, this is as far as any team has gone in Washington school history in terms of state, being in the top 16, which is, we had an incredibly emotional win over Bloomington Central Catholic when we were there, which put them in the top 16, which we had lost to that team earlier in the season at a dual meet. And so that win was crazy, and it was fabulous. And of course, these guys played way above what they were doing. They were just really psyched and pumped for it. And it was just a lot of fun. I enjoyed the whole season. I enjoyed working with the girls, and I was very grateful to have the opportunity to work with them. So,
Any questions from the board?
Thank you for sharing that information and coming forward to tell us your story.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Under visitors and correspondence, is there any others that would like to address the board? Moving on to reports, 5.1 Science Department report. Mrs. Melissa Redding, please.
Thank you.
Right arrow.
I'm Melissa Redding. I'm the chair of the Science Department, winding up over a decade of that. So this is the last go-round. I don't have a picture of the team. We've been trying to get a picture of the team, and we've had some down on our luck, some illness, so I apologize for that. I've given you a list of the years of experience that we have, both within high school and outside of the high school, so we're totaling over 125 years as a team, and you can see the classes that each person teaches. I've also given you a snapshot of the program of studies, realizing, of course, that our courses are not necessarily sequential. We have a specialized series of courses, biology and chemistry and physics and a few others. So the program of studies flow chart is a little bit difficult to follow. You can take many different pathways. So that's there for you. We have an accomplished team. To name a few, a lot of energy and great pride in teaching science to the students at Washington High School. Jennifer was invited by the Research Design and Learning Exchange, which is under the Illinois Science and Technology Institute, to present in October of this year how we use the mentor matching engine. This was in Chicago. There were 25 Illinois educators present, with Bloomington and Normal and Williamsfield being the closest ones to Washington. They're seeking to improve their student research communication skills by using mentors in professional fields. So she presented how we do that. Joel and Lisa and Jennifer also spent the last 3 summers as participants in the Next Generation Exemplar Professional Development through the state of Illinois. And so they are now leading our science team and other science educators in the area. They have, of course, contacts from all of the people that were in the Exemplar program. With the pedagogical shift that we've been introduced to in the last few years called Next Generation Science Standards. The time that was spent over the 3 summers becoming immersed in the Next Generation Science Standards, learning about them, learning categories, learning how to weave the things together, is very complex. And so we have now these 3 people that are very important to the movement of science and the standards as we go forward. The entire team was a part of the eclipse viewing on August the 21st when we returned to school, and we helped the administration allow the entire student body to participate in that. And we've already had conversations about the next eclipse, which is April the 8th of 2024. Some other accomplishments include science students, so Science Panthers, I always call them. And we have a very diverse range of things that we've participated in. There was a poetry contest from the American Chemical Society. And at one point, we had 1st and 2nd place winners from Washington. The following year, we had 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place winners. We also had participation in the ALA and the IEMA Radon Video Contest, and our student won 1st place. It was a monetary award personally, as well as an award for the high school. We actually used that money to help us purchase the eclipse glasses for the students viewing. We also had the annual department award that's been going on the entire time, and probably before I took over. So I've listed some of the names of the students, and of course this year's has yet to be announced. We also allow students or give them the opportunity to work in a student researcher position at the USDA Ag Lab. That happens once a year. The students must write an essay, and they must have faculty reference, and then they're chosen. And since 2010, we have sent 1 or 2 or 4, or one year we sent 6 students over. They were selected for that opportunity. They do not on that day allow faculty participation, so none of us have ever been in the building for that. I'm following with a few slides from just this first 15 weeks of this semester. Students that have contacted the science department members in some way or other, complimenting and offering thanks for what we've done for their future. And so you can read the names of the students, what year they are, some of them where they're going, and many of them their future vocation. So we consider these successes in our department. I actually just received one this evening in an email at 5:30 before I came over here. So there's another one for the board. Although the evidence is rather weak, there is a connection from Albert Einstein to the quote that you see. I'm not a poet laureate, though I have an uncle who, at 84 years old, was a professor in the English department at Illinois Valley Community College. You may argue with me on this one, but I think this is an important quote when we look at accomplishments. We believe in science that our greatest strength is unity, collaboration is second nature to our team. We have stimulating discussions every day at lunch. Our conversations evolve into not only the logistics and operations of the department, but the profits, that is, what the student gains as well as the community. With 1/3 of the team, a biologist, a chemist, and a physicist, trained, experienced in the shift in pedagogy that science education is moving toward, we truly believe that we're on the leading edge. You'll see that our long-term goal is to teach not only the students, but to incite the staff, the parents, and the community about the shift. We understand that support will come with understanding. As members of the National Science Teachers Association, we believe in what we do. We invite you to come into our classrooms anytime to experience the difference and then share your experience. We not only are in communication with middle school educators who we've worked with them over the past few years as they work to implement the new standards, but also with post-secondary educators moving our students toward their vocational goals. Our advanced courses continue to be complemented by graduates and the feedback that we receive. We most recently heard from the Dean of Math, Science, and Engineering at ICC, informing that his faculty continues to see positive engagement and resourcefulness from the course rigor that our students experience. We also hear from the STEM Dean at ISU and his faculty that our ISPs and focus on research, as well as the shift in teaching, is making students better at problem solving. Maybe a little weaker in content, but they continue to tell us that that is their job. Our symposium continues to evolve. It will be held on Monday, April the 23rd, 2018. Our students continue to model the research design aspect of science, and they will present and defend the projects that they've spent countless hours working on. If you've never experienced the symposium, you owe it to yourself to attend. Although collaboration is our greatest strength, the time required for profitable success is our greatest weakness. The team spends countless hours, we know what the end goals are, working on the development of curricular flow and coordinating and scaffolding the performance expectations through units as well as through successive courses. You see, a science teacher cannot at this time Google a resource for a quality lesson, fill in a block in a lesson plan book, and teach like perhaps in the past. Companies may be stamping NGSS on their products, but truly presenting the integration of the practices such as engaging in argument from evidence, with the cross-cutting concepts like stability and change, and the disciplinary core ideas, for example, ecosystems, is mostly a miss. It's extremely difficult to block through this development the length of a single class's journey through processing, analyzing, and evaluating, let alone the coordination of 2 or 3 or 4 classes. Our department goal looks the same on paper. It's adapting the NGSS, but the process is complex and lengthy. Communication with peers and colleagues is excellent. However, another weakness is with parents and the community, understanding the complex process that the change is moving toward. The team would appreciate a forum, perhaps a curriculum night in August, to explain to parents what science looks like at this time in education's history. Chemistry isn't about test tubes and canned experiments anymore. Having spent the last 2 years investigating the directive from the administration for AP and dual credit courses, the opportunities for our department are limited. AP Science courses with test-worthy success include time constraints for laboratories that are incongruous with our daily schedules. To say the least, creative scheduling would be required. We have compared AP Biology and AP Environmental Science. We don't offer an environmental course. We do offer advanced biology. The AP Environmental course would be the least limiting logistically, as well as the most general in terms of content. Randy Calvert, one of the team members, has the most background in the content area of environmental science. She paid the fee and spent the entire summer of 2017 waiting for the state to update her credentials to her married name so that she could take the content test, which was her deficiency for that area of endorsement. She recently took and passed the test, and now she waits for the ROE to complete her endorsement paperwork. The process continues. Stay tuned. We met with the Dean of Science at ICC to discuss possible dual credit courses. Master's degrees in content areas are required in order to teach dual credit courses. Science courses are more difficult because they are specialized. You have to have a chemistry master's to teach chemistry. Same for physics and same for biology. Science courses also are not necessarily sequenced like a composition course might be, and they may not all be pertinent to all majors. There's no one science class that all students take. We have 2 team members with master's degrees in that science content area. Jennifer Miller could teach chemistry, and Randy Calvert could teach earth science or geology. All of those are 1 semester classes. At this point, we've reviewed the syllabi and are combing through the laboratories, making lists detailing supplies if we were to teach the courses at WCHS, so that information can be put forward. After many issues, we piloted the STEM class last year. The struggles to enroll students, those of you that were here, recall it was an on-again, off-again roller coaster ride. It diminished the momentum for the course, coupled with our department error in qualifying the course as an academic course. If we had assigned honors designation to the course, I likely would not be speaking to this right now. The students who have the work ethic and motivation to gain from a course in which brainstorming, researching, and synthesizing is a daily event are the higher achieving students. That's not to say that academic students cannot be successful, but the numbers weren't there to make effective and productive discussion. With even a combination of honors and academic students, everyone would be challenged in some way. Library 111, a dual credit course, is built in as an opportunity to the STEM course. Many students, though, we know, play the numbers game, so we're not teaching STEM this year. We requested last year, and again this year, to change the course to an honors designation. Honors classes don't restrict students because with approval, a student can take an honors course. An academic class restricts those wanting the weighted GPA. The team is concerned about losing professional development time. We only have 7 or 8 PD Mondays that are designated for departmental goals. Please don't take any away. We already meet during lunch and after school. With the pedagogical shift in science curriculum, it's vital that communication and collaboration continue. We want 8th graders to have a smooth transition to 9th grade, and our hope is that as the curriculum continues to align, more students will be content skill ready for the 9th grade biology class. More parents and community members will understand the positive outcomes, not only for graduates, but for future residents in the community. Being able to see the threads of core scientific ideas, coupled with innovation and mindfulness to the surroundings, will forge the local community to leading the region by informed choice. It's truly a win-win. Preparation for the mandate swinging seems to be constant. The Illinois Science Assessment continues to be a dysfunctional metric as far as we are concerned. Grading for the 2016 administration was completed in August. The 2017 grading administration was recently completed, and I'm not aware of any results sharing. As we move forward, the student population is growing. The maintenance of low teacher-student ratio with concern to a safe environment is imperative. Because we want students to have a purposeful education, and we know that our administration and Board of Education support this, we will give students the best science education possible. And speaking as a longtime member of this faculty, the best education possible. This supports our collaboration with the community, higher institutions, and business. Do you have any questions? Sir?
So it seemed like a thread that ran through there was the change in the standards, the next generation science standards.
Yes, sir.
So I wonder what you think represents kind of the major shift from whatever existed before to these new, that your department is grappling with. How do you see it?
The new standards integrate 3 areas where the old standards gave you a content area and told you to teach about it. We're now looking at performance expectations coupled with core ideas, coupled with, I'm missing the third one.
Cross-cutting concepts.
Cross-cutting concepts. Sorry, I just blanked out. It's a process of teaching the students to think about the processes of science. It isn't give them some information, have them answer some questions, seek a hypothesis, perhaps a canned experiment, and then wind it up. We're threading all of these things together, and learning to do that and learning to teach it is a lengthy process.
Do you like it? Do you think it's a good change?
Oh, it's a shift that's going to make better thinkers in the long run and more informed members of society. Truly, I believe it is. As the professors in the college continue to tell us, their job is to shore up content as those students move forward into their vocational areas. However, they have to come with some content, so we are still teaching chemistry and chemistry classes and biology. It just looks different than perhaps when you and I were there.
Thank you. That sounds neat. I think that's an improved way to learn, and it goes with the whole idea of lifelong learners, I think. So.
It's a transition that we need to get out to people so they understand that it doesn't look the same as when they were in school.
And hence your thought about the parent night.
We already have that for 8th grade parents, but we don't seem to have that for sophomores, juniors, and seniors.
And going along with that, could you possibly have a syllabus or something for parents who couldn't come to a meeting to learn?
They're on our website.
Everything's there. Excellent.
But there's a difference between seeing it and hearing it.
Yes, ma'am.
That's true.
Because you're talking education.
Experiencing it. If we were to do a lesson for you, board members and administration, 25 minutes probably wouldn't get the idea across. I thought about that for tonight. Didn't want to take all that time.
I think when Common Core came in and those higher level thinking skills finally took root, where before they were talked about, but we didn't really work hard at them. I'm not sure we knew how. I think this has been a change for education in general and for the parents to catch up on why we're not just lecturing and testing anymore, but going through all of these higher level thinking skills and doing them. It's been such a change. There are so many things changing in education now that even retired educators can't keep up with them. Because I don't tutor anymore, because I have no textbooks, so I have nothing to tutor from, materials on the grade school level. And so I just gave it up. And now for parents, they say something about teaching, helping their kids at home. But if they don't have a textbook to see what they're supposed to be doing, the goal, they're frustrated. So, and I'm not saying it's bad, it's different. And it's a slow process. It's a very challenging one, even for the educators, because it's a different way of teaching, a more complex way of teaching. And that's what I'm hearing from you. And the time to get together to plan. If there's one thing that's never enough, it's professional development time. I mean, there aren't enough hours in the day to do what we really need to do. And I think Karen does a wonderful job of professional development here in our district, but it's just time. So I understand everything you're saying, but it isn't enough to educate the students. Somehow we have to get to the parents. The community, yes, but the parents first and foremost. How?
Well, I'll tell you, I do know this department works very hard at what they do. And we've watched it, at least in my 4 years here, I've watched them kind of about and work through concepts and trying to get people on board with a change in the mentality of pulling out of a book and being more independent and thinking on your own and the research. It's difficult at times. So we continue to talk about how we can support and what we can do to build those bridges, because it is tough. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you for putting together such a detailed presentation, and it helps to get the board up to date to what the science is doing. I'm excited that so many past students want to contact you and tell you the things you're doing right, because a lot of times you don't get to hear those things, so that's kudos for your department. And then also, as a board, we can understand what you're kind of wanting our help with, and I do believe a curriculum night might be something that we could look into if we can somehow pull it together for parents and teachers.
I think those administrative kudos from ICC and ISU are very impressive too.
So thank you for teaching and mentoring all these years that you've been here. So I don't know if anybody else has anything to add, but I enjoyed your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, I guess now, if we have to think about that, is a financial report for Joe Sanders.
Okay. Let me get back to the board meeting. I do have, I will say, sticking with that science theme, I've observed quite a few of our science teachers, and their lessons are quite good. It is, and it blends so very well with the Mission framework. It really does. So, all right, moving on to finance here. The monthly budget report and the Friday letter, I gave you this little piece of good news. We should be getting the check from the EFE office for, I think it's around $27,000 of funds that were never received last year, and that's for our CTEI grant that was fully funded this year. So that's really good news. At the top, you can see the monthly scorecard, where we're at, expenditures and revenues, and then current year expenses budgeted $20 million, and year-to-date spend is just over almost $8 million, and so we're tracking right in line with that. I do want to point out over here on the revenue side that we have received most of our general levy ask from last year, and then also down here, general state aid is still flowing, so that's good. We received $1 million of general state aid out of the $2.4 million that we had budgeted for that. On the second page is the investment report, and that's pretty self-explanatory. The last part of my monthly report is on insurance, and the graph here on the right. This is our break-even line. So when we fall below the line, it's been a good month. And so as you take a look, the month of November was a really good month for us to help offset the month of September. So things are tracking quite well with the insurance, and we're sitting just over $800,000 in the health trust account. So once again, the changes that we made some time ago are very favorable for where we're at right now. Do you have any questions in regards to the financial report? Very clear, thank you.
Moving on to 5.3, the Dean's Report.
You have those in your packet. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
The Enrollment Report also. That's pretty self-explanatory. Where we're at with that.
Still a good number.
And then we are moving to 5.5, which is the board committee reports. We were pretty active in meeting in different committees, and we could probably go around and talk about those a little bit. So the first one was insurance. I'm not on the insurance committee.
There's all the information that we had presented there, and there was really nothing new to discuss.
It's good to know. Then there was a finance committee meeting, and would be Chris, Brian, and Bonnie.
Is there anything new that wasn't in our report? I think it was really well outlined.
We had we reviewed the levy, which we're going to look at shortly here. So it looked like it was about the same from the last month, not much significant change. And then I think we just talked about capital reserves that we have in place for future projects and so on. And the financial software upgrade, which we have a action item on there.
The curriculum committee met, and that would have been Jennifer, Brian, and Gloria. And that was outlined in the meeting minutes that we had. Is there anything any of you wanted to add to that?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Gloria.
We talked a lot about interventions for students with reading problems. And RTI, just a lot of things that we're doing to catch students early, to give them as much support as we possibly can, to make them as successful as possible. But what we're doing now, what we might look at in the future, just always trying to stay on top of that. And the other big report is coming up. So you already received as far as course changes that we'll be talking about later. So we'll address that then. Anything else? Big items that we missed on our agenda.
I think those were the two big items.
Primarily the presentation, which was very informative.
And I would just share out to the rest of the board that, like you said, following up on the RTI, the interventions that we do, that Becky Drum and Kim Stafford seem to have a very rigorous program. It seems to go really deep. They target students. They had good evidence of following students and really working with students to bring them up. So it's a neat program, and it sounds like down the road a little more might come to us on future plans for that kind of program. But I was impressed coming from the grade school district how much there is an RTI plan in place and how thorough the plan is to catch everybody.
And then the last committee that met was facilities. I was on facilities, and then who else is on there? Jennifer and Chris. And we talked about facilities.
Not only kind of, continue to revisit, refresh our long-term needs, but I think we're getting a little bit more granular detail on some of the potential proposals and looking at the dollars. So kind of refining some of that. Also, I think some good discussion on some potential security statements. I think we might talk about later, maybe not. So some pretty interesting, Brian Rankley, I think some pretty interesting areas for low dollars, increasing safety improvements.
Yeah,
Sure. Because this is just coming up today, we do need to have another facilities committee meeting next Monday, if at all possible, around 5. Caius is going to be there, so if you're interested in hearing him, you might want to show up.
and then you get that out and the board will pushed out as a meeting then? All right, well, if not, we can work that out.
I'll figure out how to make that adjust, Chris, if you...
No, it's good, I'm writing it down.
Is that okay? Okay.
Moving on to discussion and informational items, 6.1. Dr. Freeman, can you...
Yes, we have we need to put a couple security cameras in the outbuilding because we have a lot of equipment in there. We have big overhead doors. We don't want our equipment disappearing. So one of the concerns that the union brought forward was the use for the security cameras. So what you have in your board packet is a memorandum of understanding regarding the usage of security cameras within the district. That's fine. It's not a big deal. It's basically saying that security cameras are there to ensure the safety of the property. We don't use them solely for the purpose of evaluation. It's kind of just a long discussion piece on that. I hope everybody's had the chance to read it. Please do. This is the information phase. Next month we'll be asking for approval. So that's what I say.
Moving on to 6.2, the resignation of Kelsey Knox as assistant volleyball coach.
She is stepping down as the assistant volleyball coach.
6.3 is a trip proposal, Europe trip for 2019. And that is the foreign language
Yes.
group that's trying to do that.
Yes, they would like to, and you can see kind of the destination with overnights in Paris, Nietzsche, I can't read my screen right now. These, overnights, Bordeaux, oh man, thank you. I need
all of those French things.
I can handle Normandy. That's the old social studies teacher in me. So, and then London, France, and Spain. With you can see there are several overnights. Good opportunity for the kids to get a little background. We will be not asking you to act on this tonight, but this is the information discussion phase. You can see the trip is laid out. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know. I know the world's kind of a hectic place these days, so that's why it's probably good to think about it for a month.
Do they have a minimum on that, or is there...
Usually,
when they,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, they're not going to be able to do it with just a couple kids. There have to be enough to make it, but I'm not sure what the minimum is.
Okay.
We can find out if you'd like to know that.
Yeah, that might be helpful.
Okay.
The maximum, I hope the whole school goes to that, would just be the trusted in foreign language trip. So you're not getting 1,000 kids going to Europe at one time.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions on that discussion? Okay. 6.4, financial analysis. Mr. Sanders, Dr. Sanders?
Yeah, Ryan put this together, or had this put together for us. It's a lot of good data. It's the financial analysis for a building automation system upgrade, basically it controls. And so here's the raw data, and then down here on the second graph, we're looking at a break-even point of our investment somewhere in between year 4 and year 5. And then with that, we reduce our energy costs going forward from that. So this is a very worthwhile initiative. It's becoming more green. And then Ameren also has incentives that will help reduce the overall cost to that. And those haven't been nailed down yet. And I do believe Ryan shared that the incentives may actually increase as we get into January. So about the time that we are ready to move on this project, we could receive some additional incentive, financial incentive for doing the control work.
unlike, similar to our roof lines, we have 7 different types of HVAC systems here. And so bringing that all underneath one sort of control system will help keep the library nice and comfortable without having to go and, crank down valves and open steam lines and all that sort of stuff.
Me, it just won our vote.
There we go. So that's short and sweet.
It's pretty slick. I think it improves not only the control the temperatures, but also a lot of the inefficiencies and waste and whatnot that goes with having a very slow lagging semi-equilibrium system. So I knew it paid for itself. But anyway, it's a good part of the facility. We had a really good, lengthy discussion on this in our facility meeting. So anyway, it's going to be a pretty good idea.
Does that Ameren credit, it's not factored into the break-even thing yet, is it?
It is. The second one, the second set of graphs, I believe it shows a break-even point, like if we receive $0 in the investment or the incentive, then the break-even would happen between year 6 or 7. So either way, we're looking at we had a preliminary cost for the controls, and it's already been reduced from that after doing our analysis on it. And then when we figure in the Ameren incentives, we can drive it down even further.
Any other questions? Thank you, Joe. Moving on to other 6.5. If anybody has any other, I had a couple of things. I think the convention in Chicago was successful. I'm anxious to hear about some of the classes that all of you have taken. I haven't had a chance to get caught up with all of that, but I'm willing to share my classes. I think I've got some valuable information to come back that we can use as a board. So I don't know how any of you else felt about the convention, but it was great. I mean, like I said, you get a lot of good information. Kind of builds you up a little bit again, gets you more kind of enthused about some ideas or whatever. So.
Yeah, I had some good sessions, one on interventions, and then one on the 5 essentials. It was funny because then I got back and curriculum committee is using 5 essentials for SIP, or curriculum is involved with SIP, part of SIP. So that was neat. There's a guy who loves the 5 essentials, an administrator. And yeah, he's like a total cheerleader.
T-shirt.
He loved it.
Isn't sold.
Brian was thinking about getting one.
Yeah, that's right.
Was there any other items that anyone wanted to talk under other?
I would like to make a comment. I saw Brian there. I went to the high school band concert, and there were no parking places there. I had to drive around until some people who were there exercising left before I could find a parking place, which is wonderful, as was the concert. Those kids are so talented. It's just, for a high school group, they blow my mind, and I love music. But it's just one of the many things our students do tonight, how they share their successes with us and so forth. But they're successful in so many ways here at Washington High School. And I think it's part of our philosophy to fund and support the student as a whole, not just only an academic program, which obviously is very important, but so many other opportunities for the student to grow in other ways too. And those kids are going to go somewhere with music. And what they take with them to their transfer institutions is a great reputation for the school.
I was fortunate enough to see the competitive cheer team on Saturday. They had a meet at Peoria High on Saturday and one in Rockford on Sunday. They placed second in both of those, but both my husband and I thought they were the most physically attuned group there. And the girls and the guy are doing a great job.
And then they came back and they were at the football bank.
That's right.
And spoke there and came up and took part. So, and another big event here at the high school on that same evening as the concert. So this is a busy place.
Yes, it is. And my understanding is they were fractions away from the first.
There was a crowd contested on the first one. which is understandable. The other teams had 14 on the map, and they had 11. And there was not, I believe, a stipulation ahead of time that they were 14. So a little unusual.
One other thing we should probably discuss, and I know we're not really ready to make a vote on that, but our graduation, we're still looking into with Bradley as an opportunity maybe in the future. It's going to have to be because we're running out of space.
And basically what it is I want to give you something to approve. So we need to make sure we have the date ironed out in some form of a contract.
Are we looking at 2018 for that or 2019?
2019.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't be.
That'd be
a
pushed it, right,
push
okay.
it. That'd be awful.
Any other? Moving on to the cassette agenda. Let's see what we have there. We have the Board of Education approved the consent agenda as presented. 7.11, the regular board meetings of November 13th, 2017. 7.12, the Facilities Committee meeting minutes of November 29th, 2017. 7.14, Finance Committee meeting minutes of December 4th, 2017. We are busy. 7.15, Curriculum Committee meeting minutes of December 7th, 2017. And 7.16 of the Executive Session meeting minutes of November 13th, 2017. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Oh, wait, we also have the resolution for 7.2 for bills and 7.3 for approved supervisory duty from August to November. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3 as recommended?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Butler?
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Essing?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Knopfinger?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. That was a lot to say there. We're moving on to action items. 8.1 for personnel. Okay, we have the leave of absence request. Leave of absence request 8.11A to approve the absent request for complete art teacher. And then the other one is 8.11B, approve the leave of absence for Molly Reckenpohl, counselor. And then do we need to do these separately?
No, you can do this.
Okay. And then 8.12, job description.
You can do it.
Oh, okay. 8.1, is there a motion to approve the recommendation as listed?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please. Fisher?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Knopfinger?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Essing?
Yes. Motion carries, thank you. All right, now moving on to 8.12, leave of absence request. The board approved the job description. Oh, okay, sorry. Job description of the maintenance special, the HVAC, as presented.
You have that within your packets.
Right. Is there a motion to approve the new job description for the maintenance specialist as recommended? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Essing?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Knopfinger?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you. Moving on to 8.2, to approve the proposed 2017 tax levy and truth in taxation certification.
Okay, I've got a brief presentation I've got to run right through in regards to the 2017 tax levy. Here's what we're going to be covering. And so we'll jump right on into the definitions. The levy is just a request for dollars. The tax levy extension is the aggregate of dollars. And we are held, since we're a PTEL, and that's on the next slide here. 5%. We've got the EAV, which is equalized assessed valuation, the tax rate, and then the truth in taxation. This year, since our request is under 5%, we did not have to have a truth in taxation hearing. And so here's a slide on PTEL. I'd like to spend just a little bit of time with this. Tazewell County falls underneath the tax cap law, which limits our extension to 5% or the CPI, whichever is less. This year, the CPI was 2.1%. That's the highest CPI that we've had since I've been here at the high school, the 2012-2013 year. Last year it was, I believe, 0.7. The year prior was 0.8, or I may have those inverted. And so our CPI has been low. You can see we've been under tax cap since 1998. I'd like to spend just a little bit of time on this slide. This is the impact of PTEL. Many times we get asked, well, why do you have to extend the full amount? And this is why. The example right there in the middle of the screen is that if we were to reduce our ask in 2017 by $200,000, that would drop our overall total amount $200,000, and that sets our ask for 2018. So then we would start 2018 $200,000 in the hole that we cannot recoup. And so that's why school districts under PTEL typically ask for the maximum. Otherwise, we lose those dollars indefinitely forever. So in 2 years, you'd be reaching close to $500,000 of lost potential revenue if the board took that action. Here's the timeline. We actually got our September 1st notice from Gary Twist. He does a commendable job estimating our tax assessment for EAV. He factors in the new construction costs, and that's been pretty spot on over the last few years. We are very fortunate, as I've talked with other business officials and superintendents from other counties. They end up having to call their county assessor to get that information, and every school district here, every taxing body receives that estimate every year right on September 1st, and it's excellent for planning. Some of these estimates are subject to change. Of course, we also every fall receive Board of Review notices saying that someone is requesting a change in their assessment. And so once that change goes into effect, well, they back that out of the EAV. Okay? Here's a little bit on our timeline. So in November, we're required at least 20 days prior to the adoption, so we did this at a November board meeting, is to have an estimate of the dollars and the amount of budget requirements and the aggregate levy for the year. Okay? And then you adopted a resolution at the November board meeting for the 18-19 school year. As I mentioned earlier, our ask is less than 5%, so there's no need for a truth in taxation hearing. And then, hopefully upon approval tonight, I'll be able to present our levy to the county office, and that's required by the 4th Tuesday in December. And those are fixed times. We cannot change that. So as we move on, in March, the district will receive the tax computation report for verification. In May, we receive the final tax computation report and CPI from the clerk's office. And then June through September, we receive our real estate taxes. And that completes that cycle. So here we are, 2.1. That's a great number to see with the CPI. You can see our EAV, and that was Mr. Twist's estimate. We factored in a little bit more in new property. The general rule in a tax cap district, you don't want to miss out on new property. And so you tend to balloon that number a little bit so that you don't leave any dollars on the table. Okay? That's common language amongst school districts in tax cap counties. So what you see here is the 2017 levy, the operating rate, the bond and interest, and then the total tax rate. You've got the estimated tax rate and then the estimated tax levy. and those were the dollars there. And then we'll do on the next slide is a comparison between 16 and 17. Last year, we had an estimated tax rate of 2.66 right here, 2.668, and it actually came in a little bit less than that, 2.64. That's to cover the ballooning that we did. And so this year, we're looking at a estimated tax rate of 2.70, and then we anticipate that that will come in a little bit lower than that. So as your EAV goes up, your tax rate can go down, and we've been in a good market with our EAV going up. And so what we're going to be asking for here is the board to approve the levy as presented.
Thank you for putting all that together, Dr. Sanders. I know it's a difficult topic to try to get out in one sentence. So if anybody asks me, I can just now forward them onto your presentation and then have them call you directly.
That would be great.
Anyway, no, seriously, you did a really nice job putting that all together because I know it's complicated. So we're going to move on to 8.2, approve the proposed.
Okay.
Approve the proposed 2017 tax levy truth intent taxation certification. And by doing that, let me get it. The board approves proposal tax levy and the truth in taxation certification as presented. Is there a motion?
I move.
Second. Motion and second. Is there any further discussion?
Joe, haven't we been very fortunate in new growth, new building, new construction?
We have, and I track, I've got a folder that I maintain all the building permits for the year. And so I look at that, and you know, it's been, there's some months that we receive several requests for building permits and others that we don't. You know, I hate to reference back to the 2013 tornado, but our trajectory lines before and after, the City of Washington has higher EAV after the tornado. And so as compared to what our trajectory line would have been had the tornado never existed, it didn't happen. So we are very fortunate. We're in a good place here, and you know, we've got a great community. And I think we do a really good job with our ask. The hardest thing is, and that's why I put the presentation together, the hardest thing is for people to understand the impact of VTEL. And you know, we can't leave those dollars on the table. I mean, it'd be catastrophic if you did, because you lose that revenue source forever. And so that's a tough concept for people to understand.
As I drive around town, I've noticed more building going on. Lots of set vacant for a long time, not been sold. That's good for Washington. It's good for us.
It is.
We did put together a nice presentation, and it's back to the tornado. We did abate some money that year, not knowing how it was going to go in the future, so the taxpayers were appreciative of that, I do know. So there's no further discussion. Roll call, please.
Warren,
Yes.
Essing,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
Knopfinger,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Armstrong.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to 8.3, approve the 3-year contract with Skyward for financial software services.
Okay, I've tried to keep the board informed of this. Short and sweet, our existing financial software package is going to go away. And so we've been actively pursuing for the last 5-6 months different vendors. And so we narrowed it down to 2 of the primary ones, and we brought them in and they did some presentations. We're recommending that the board approve a 3-year agreement with Skyward. The reason why it's a 3-year agreement is Skyward was very flexible in spreading out the transition cost over 3 years. And so the annual cost for the actual program would be this year here about $9,000. And so we have quite a few dollars in transition, $40,000 to $50,000 in that crossover cost, which it will take. If we get started in January, it'll take us until July 1 to make that transition. But the good news is that a lot of our staff are familiar with Skyward because that also is, we use the Skyward student management system. And Ms. Puckett, when she was at her previous assignment before coming here in 2012, she helped in the transition of Skyward with that district for the financial piece. And so just with her knowledge and expertise, we see this cost that is built into the 3 years of $20,000 being reduced, because that was the top end cost. If we don't need some of the training, that number will actually be reduced. And I'm confident that we'll be able to fast track over some of those special training sessions.
Does this tie in with our financial plan and facilities plan?
It does. This one was a little bit of a curveball, but I will give you an idea here. We process every month anywhere between 150 to 200 checks. Okay, so if we just did the math, the time it takes to print those checks, trifold them, stuff them into envelopes will all go away, because it's all going to be just electronically pushed out to all of our members. And that's just one aspect. That doesn't include the W-2s, which we do this exact same process multiple times a year. And so our bookkeeping staff is going to become incredibly efficient with their time and be able to generate additional reports. The reporting to the state is unbelievable. Skyward owns about 38% of the districts in Illinois, which is it's got to be the largest market share of the school district. So their reporting is streamlined with what we have to do on a financial basis each and every year. So I think we're going to capture those efficiencies. We've got to spend a little bit of money on the front end. We'll save in some efficiencies on the back end, and just better customer service to our staff members who are being paid. They're going to have better service throughout this.
It wasn't necessarily something you long-term planned. I mean, it was an obsolescence that happened. It's something you got to have in place to support ongoing operations. So we're going to have to do something, and I think there's a lot of work that was done to benchmark and figure out what the best plug-and-play option we got. This is what we're at the top.
That is very well put. I like it.
When we started the plan to start putting aside the capital development money, we said one thing we did need to do that was a software program, because what we had then really wouldn't have lived all that up the way we needed. Will this tie into that?
Yeah, it will. I mean, the annual cost is going to be more, and when I presented this to the finance committee, the question came up. We spend just over $2,000 a year right now on our current financial program. I'm going to tell you the man hours that we're going to save will probably be close to that. So, and that's just in redundant work. And so there's other things that we can do, with that time to better serve our faculty. Everything, just even our billing processes and just the HR components. The Skyward has a HR module that for new employees, it basically walks them through all the requirements, so all of our mandated training can be tracked in there. And so that's something that Heather, Ms. Ford, does right now. And so there are multiple offices that are going to see some reductions and some efficiency improvement in their areas.
The man hours, woman hours.
So I don't think, all of these aren't necessarily cloud-based, and I don't think Skyward is all cloud-based, but I think this one is cloud-based, isn't it? We're not going to have to migrate to the cloud later, because I think ultimately everything goes that way.
I think so.
Skyward itself is, it's through their server.
We don't house a server here, and one of the other big selling points is that they have multiple servers. Their stuff is backed up in multiple locations, and so this disaster recovery plan, especially on a financial side, is a good thing for us.
Any further questions? Thanks for the clarification, Dr. Sanders. to go with the suggested motion to approve the contract agreement with Skyward as recommended. Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Knopfinger?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Essing? Yes. Fisher?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to 8.4. We alluded to this a little bit earlier, approve the course recommendations and edits for the 2017-18 school year.
Okay, I'm going to move through this as efficiently as I can, so bear with me. The first two on the list are Block Applied Tech Lab and Block Fashions. In both cases, the block sections have not taken, so we're dropping block from the program of studies. However, Applied Tech Lab and Fashion still exists. We're just talking about the block version of the class. Computer applications, the course will no longer be taught for dual credit with ICC. I'm sure you've seen a newspaper article recently that talked a little bit about some changes at ICC that have had an impact on our teaching staff. So this is one of the classes that we've been trying to work through, but we don't believe that that will maintain dual credit status. CWT co-op course will be combined with interrelated co-op and will become just co-op. CWT co-op, I think, is what it is now. So we're taking the two co-op courses and making them one co-op course because they do the same thing, so we might as well give them the same title. A little less confusion in the world. Foods 1 and 2 course will be available grades 10 through 12. Here's the rationale behind that. It's been open 9 through 12 for a long time. However, foods is super popular. We provide 7 sections of food, or basically we provide it all day long. Kids like to eat, they like to cook, and they like to eat what they cook. Therefore, we're never able to give it to freshmen, so we're just making that a 10-12 option to stop some of the confusion that occurs in guidance. Now, to make up for that, interior design used to be 10-12, we're moving it 9-12 so that the freshmen do have an elective in that department if they so choose. So there's the flip-flop. Website technology, the course will be moved from IT department to the business department, which really should be the case. It's website technology. Fine arts, art portfolio, the course will be given honors level weighted grading. Chamber ensemble, students will be provided the option to take the course for honors level weighted grading. In order to do that, they have to take on an extra research component. History of Theater 1 and 2, these courses will no longer be taught for ICC dual credit. We ran into that same dual credit issue with we actually brought in a professor from ICC. It's worked okay, but we think we can do a little better in-house, so that's what we're doing. Symphonic Wind, students will be provided the opportunity to take the course for honors level weighted grading as well. Same thing, they have to meet the qualifications, which means they have to do a little extra research. Band, treble choir, concert choir, these courses currently do not qualify for GPA. Students will now be given the option to take these courses for GPA if they so choose.
Are there 3 choirs? Aren't there 3 choirs?
Yes, but the chamber ensemble is the third choir, and it's the one mentioned above going to honors. So these are the two other choirs.
But, I just want to make sure I get it right. So, but this is only making these courses qualify for GPA, right?
Yes, not honors, just standard GPA.
I think currently now they can't take them for GPA at all. It's automatically no GPA, is that right?
That's correct.
So now they could count it for GPA, but not honor.
It's giving them the option. They'll have to declare it at the beginning of the They can't go through the semester and say, hey, no, I want that for GPA. Now, you kind of have to declare that up front.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. I guess, and maybe I'm nitpicking, but it sounds like that above where it says chamber ensemble, that's just saying they can take it for honors.
Mhm.
But what we're approving here is that they're going to be given the option to get GPA credit.
Correct.
So what if, I guess my question is, what if I take chamber ensemble, but I don't want to do it honors? Can I not get it for credit?
At this point in time, the way this was written, the answer to that would be no. So you can take it for honors if you so choose. What we're trying to do is avoid too many grade books for one teacher, because what we said was, okay, you're going to have to keep 2 separate grade books in order for this to occur. You have the students that are not taking it for credit, then the students that are taking it for credit. So we don't want to add a third in because it becomes a bit of a bookwork nightmare with grading 3 different ways in one class, 1 hour. Does that make sense?
It does, but then won't you have that problem in symphonic wins as well?
Don't believe so, because they have the same option. They can take it as honors level, but not as general. So they can either go honors or no GPA.
If this helps at all, those both require tryouts to be selected to either symphonic or to chamber choir. And that's why the instructors opted for it to be honors weighted only.
Okay.
And do you anticipate, I would guess that the majority of the kids in those classes will go ahead and try to take it for honors, don't you think?
They believe that the majority of those students are already meeting
They're
many
most-
of the
most of them probably
requirements.
already
They're
done
already going above and
courses,
beyond.
so, right, okay. Coaching,
Right. And I'll use one of the examples we discussed when we were in the department chair meeting. We had a kid actually write a symphony.
Yeah.
Tell me how that wouldn't qualify for honors. And that's above his general coursework.
And then he got to perform it
He
at the
did.
concert.
He got to play one of the movements. It was really awesome.
And like Karen said, probably the majority of those kids are already honors in most of their classes.
Right, it's using the criteria, and they were able to follow the criteria. So the students have multiple options in order to meet that honors level credit.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not fully okay, but I'm not going to hold it up. I think it's probably me. It's not the honors thing. It's not the honors thing. It's the GPA for credit thing. It's just all band kids can take band for credit, but not all choir kids can take choir for credit because it says treble and concert choir, but not
Because
chamber.
chamber is the honors level
Chamber's
credit.
the honors level choir.
And then the other 2 choirs are the academic.
Chambers will have to be honors then.
Or none.
Right. Symphonic and chambers, yeah.
But if you take chamber and you don't do honors, you're not going to get credit.
Correct.
But you can do symphonic winds and take it for not honors and get credit.
Incorrect.
Okay. Okay, then so just to clarify, so where it says band, treble, choir, concert choir, I mean, shouldn't it just be the 2 bands and not the symphonic winds as well? Or does band only refer to the bottom 2 or 3?
It's on the
Yes.
It's referring to the bottom.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry for taking all that.
No,
time.
you're okay.
I wanted to make sure.
That's why I wanted to
Yep.
answer the question.
Yep.
And so symphonic is just like chamber ensemble.
Okay.
Same deal for the top level.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. Math, trig, advanced trig courses will be dropped from the program of studies. Why? There's not been enough student interest for the past 8 years to run the program. Right now, we provide all of that mathematics in college prep math, calculus AP, pre-calculus, dual credit math, 110 and 111. So they're getting it, they're just getting it through their course. All right, human geography will be moved to human geography AP. That's we're adding 2 letters to the title. They're already able to take the AP test with it. Now we're just making it official that it's an AP course.
So they're going to take AP, I'm more asking this as a parent, but they're taking an AP test, they're already currently doing AP
He's transitioned the curriculum this year, but it's not an AP designation.
Okay.
We still have to put the syllabus in, et cetera.
So
But
he's
we have
got to
students who
tweak
are
it just a
interested, right,
little
okay.
bit. But I do believe he had a very good passing rate last year for the number of kids that did take the AP
Or was it
test.
something like 80% for those that took the European history?
Yeah, so we're pretty set. Okay, special education, and this is tied to our life skills programming, so there's a number of changes here, okay? Life skills program, we're adding life skills math, life skills reading, basic vocational living skills, advanced vocational living skills, basic community living, advanced community living, basic Panther professionals, advanced Panther professionals, daily living, and personal life. The purpose behind those changes, we have 2 life skills programs. We have our, we have the transitional, and then we have the other one, sorry.
So the transition is for the students who are at the upper level. The students would come in probably freshman through sophomore, maybe junior year. They would be in the lower level life skills. This is more the fundamental.
Fundamental, that's what I was looking for. Okay, so basically you see 2 different course descriptions for each one. One is the transitional, one is the fundamental. So that they know what they're taking, we have an actual title for it. And those are the proposed changes.
Looks like the curriculum committee and Karen have all been pretty busy on that this year.
And I just had one comment, I think we kind of talked about this, the dual credit. I mean, we're going to continue to work on, it just was this thing with ICC, right? It's not.
Yes, and the simple version of this is
We can get that figured out.
ICC went through a new accreditation process, and so the requirement now is either 18 semester hours in a graduate course in that particular subject area, or they could have a master's degree in that subject area. Well, that's a change. It's an increase of hours by about 2 classes, by about 6 hours. And so some of our teachers who were able to teach dual credit have been receiving letters saying, now you're not. Now, we're still working with a couple of them at ICC. For example, we have one that has more hours. They've sent another set of transcripts back. We're still waiting to hear. So that's why we're kind of in limbo with this until we get it all worked out, and then we'll figure out how we're going to proceed. There are the options of going online, options of trying to bring an ICC professor over here. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's not a very good marriage. So that's where we're at. We're just going to continue pounding at this because we want this partnership with ICC to work. So we're trying very hard on our end to make sure it happens.
Well, they're still transitioning that too.
They are. In the article laid it out. I think they had 90 teachers, 90 professors that had to send letters to that no longer qualified to teach. So it's a struggle across the board.
We'll get it all worked out there. If there's no further questions, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the course recommendation and edits for the 2018-2019 school year as recommended.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Esmond? Yes.
Fisher?
Yeah.
McDevitt?
Yes.
Knopfinger? Yes. Butler?
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Warren? Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to 8.5, bus bids.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the bus bid summary here. It's, I'm going to turn this. All right. So we have 2 different action items. The first one is, I believe the first one is for the 77 passenger bus, yes. And so here are the bids, and I do want to point out on this one, it's not getting any bigger. The bus bids were a little bit higher than what we've seen in the past, and they were higher across all 3 of the companies that submitted bids. And so we asked them afterward, and their response was, when you're getting into the lease, you're paying for the potential increase in interest rates. And so you're paying for the money that's being put up front. To give you an idea, I went back and I looked at going all the way back to 2004, and the district had done really well with our last few bids. We had been in the $10,000 to $11,000 range per bus. And so going back to 2004, we haven't seen this kind of increase, but I wanted to point that out to the board that this was across all of the different companies.
So they're betting on interest rates going up that much.
And that's for the 77 passenger buses. Here it is. In 2004, the winning bid was $10,556. 2014, the winning bid was $10,319. So numbers have been pretty flat for a while. 2008, it was $11,250 per bus. And so
It is what it is.
it is. We do, since we're not big enough to have a bus operation, and we don't have a bus garage, it really is, I feel that as being an administrator, we send so many teams, so many groups to various locations in and out of the state, having reliable transportation. We don't pay for a mechanic on staff, so we do save some costs there. And so having a 3-year lease, our costs have been pretty consistent. With the status of the economy, I don't know where we would be 3 years or a year down the road, or say 6 months down the road. We could gamble and we could reject these, or we could move forward, at least on the 77 passenger bus. But I wanted to make the board aware of, that the costs are more expensive this time.
And this one is for the 77 passengers for 8 buses,
It's
correct?
for 8 buses.
We've talked about this a lot, about owning versus leasing. And we've really come to board with your recommendation, has really come to the idea that the leasing had advantages that we didn't have before. Broken out buses, it's getting old, we better hurry up and replace it before something happens, and then we could buy a new one and so forth. So I think the recommendation is that we don't know, this is new, but on the other hand, unless we change our whole philosophy of going back to the ownership.
Ownership would be, it would be expensive. I don't know if we could get by with just having 8 or 10 buses. Because with ownership, if one goes down, it's down until it gets fixed. With the lease market, we very seldom have a bus issue. And when it does, it's part of the lease that they need to replace that with another usable vehicle to get us through. So keep in mind, we run 7 bus routes, and so every day we're sitting there with 3, spares. But who knows? With field trips and that, especially if something's leaving early in the morning, we've had situations where we have had all 10 buses out in the morning.
I would venture to say that there are more days we don't have 7 buses sitting out there than there are days we do.
It's not what I'd like to present to the board. I'd like to see an amount in the 11,000 and 12,000. So,
It sounds like like Gloria said, it is what it is, right?
Unless we change our philosophy. And that takes some study, I think, rather than just tonight decide, no, let's switch to the other.
we're pretty healthy on our transportation fund balance. Each year we spend way underneath what we typically budget for that. So we run a pretty lean operation.
Oh, and we can afford this.
Oh, yes, we can afford this.
Approving something tonight we certainly can afford. it. It's just a question of, in the future, where will costs go?
I don't see it as horrible, because in 3 years it could have been much worse. It could be even higher, and we're locked in at 13 versus the 11. So to me, I think it's, you know, what you said, by leasing is the option that we should go.
Same retail and residual value, it's interest rate thing kind of feels weird, but I mean, it seems like the transaction, the top line retail price would have gone up that much. That seems to make sense over those years rather than the interest rate. It doesn't surprise me that we should see that. I think.
Yeah, I just thought it was unique to see it all, and all three of the bidders commented on that.
That says something there.
Any other discussion? It's going to go to a vote. Is there a motion to approve the 3-year bus lease agreement on Midwest Transit as recommended?
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Butler?
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
Essing?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Knopfinger?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to 8.6, approve the 3-year bus lease agreement with Midwest Transit for one activity bus.
Yeah, and this one, these was a much smaller increase. But the activity bus, I want to point out, Midwest Bus Sales had the lowest bid. However, they left 3 of the specs. One was left blank and 2 were at the owner's expense. And it was going to cost us more money per the contract to go with the Midwest Bus Sales. And so I contacted him and said that we're going to move with the next bid. And he was understanding of that.
And Midwest Transit's different than Midwest
Bus Sales.
Bus.
Okay.
Yes. There's 2, they're likewise names, but they're separate businesses.
It took me 1 or 2 bids to figure that out myself too. So yes, they're 2 totally different companies.
We're the same company for all of these.
Yes.
Activity plus
Yeah.
the regular passengers.
How many activity buses do we have?
We have 2 now. And so this one is a replacement. Our first activity bus we picked up 3 years ago. So that lease is going to end in June. And so this would be a renewal of that. And I just can't say to the board enough, thank you for going down that investment. Mr. Knobloch and I were just talking with, swimming going on. We can take multiple activity buses. You don't have to have a CDL licensed driver. And so we save costs on that. They're incredible vehicles. And so we can take up to 28 people now. So wrestling teams and some of our smaller groups and activities can utilize those.
Any further discussion? Is there a motion to approve the 3-year activity bus agreement with Midwest Transit as recommended?
And move.
Second. Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Fisher?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Knopfinger?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes. Essing? Yes. Motion carries. Moving on to executive session 9 will be, is there a motion to move into executive session for the 9.1 for the appointment, compensation, discipline, performance, and dismissal of specific employees of the District of Legal Counsel for the district, including hearing testimony of a complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity. Yeah. And then executive session 9.25 or 9.2, security procedures and the use of personnel equipment to respond to the actual threat or reasonable potential danger to the safety of the employees, student, staff, and the public or public property. Is there a motion to move into executive session?
So moved. Second.
Motion second. Roll call, please.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
Essing?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Knopfinger?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
And there's no vote after the executive session.